because I'm twice as nice. And this is the Drop Hip Hop Uncensored, where I bring you all things exclusive hip hop style, La Mzansi Africa. Today, my guest, Bona. You see, I'm all suited up. We're talking serious business. I'm talking about a PR expert, digital marketing executive, Bona Kira, executive chairman of the SSI Africa. There are people who are gatekeepers. He is the gatekeeper. I have with me Shawn Myeza. Hello.
Yo, I'm looking for that gatekeeper. Where's that guy?
Why are you this person?
Yeah, I'm looking for him. I'm like, who's this gent?
Where's the gatekeeper? You hold the gate keys because you know what? You unlock doors. You are also a manager of a lot of creators and a lot of successful people in the hip hop industry.
Look, I'm with a major label, so I've got quite a lot of people that I look after in hip hop and outside of hip hop, you know. And then outside of that, due to relationships that I've built over the years, there's a lot of people that I also take care of. Not necessarily in hip hop,
but because the market is very big as well.
Yeah.
You do managing amongst a lot of things. Now, a lot of people will say, you know, if you're an artist, get a manager. But what exactly is a manager?
Basically, a manager is business affairs. You know, as an artist, your responsibility is to come up with the creative. Anything that happens beyond the creative, you need somebody who's going to commercialize it, and that's where a manager comes in. You know, you give me the record, I decide what happens with that record. How are we going to make money off that record? You know, how are we going to get what's due to us for that record? And that's the manager's job.
So basically, it gives the artist enough room to explore all aspects of their creativity without the stress of having to also juggle the business and the admin side of things.
Yep.
Now, there's different features of managers. There's a road manager, general manager. What are the different types of managers and what are their roles? Because I think a lot of people don't understand that you need multiple managers, not just one person who's doing everything.
Look, for me, that depends on the size of the career, because then that tells you whether or not you need all that administration. You don't want to be eating into your profits, you know, and not even break even. Quite frankly, with most independent artists, I always say you need one manager. You know, at the most you need two. So that would be your general manager, who will basically look over your contracts and stuff like that, and then have a road manager who deals specifically with bookings, you know, where the booking is, what time you need to be there, when you get there, is the tech rider correct, is the hospitality rider correct, you know, are you performing, you know, for 30 minutes as you asked to, are you making it onto the next gig, you know.
Also, are you making it on time? Because time is something a lot of South African artists still struggle to perfect, and that also speaks volumes about the type of name that they're building for themselves.
Definitely. Time is one of the most important jobs of a road manager, because quite frankly, that's all you need to manage from your artist as a road manager. The rest, you're managing the process. You know, you're managing whether or not you're getting what is supposed to be given to the artist. But other than that, you need to make sure that the artist is there on time, you know, performs at the correct time, leaves and gets to their next gig on time. You know, because it's a chain, it's a domino effect. You're late, it means that the next DJ or the next artist on stage is going to be late. And unfortunately now we're flying to cities. Airlines are not going to wait for you.
Flights leave. Flights don't care if when you are the biggest selling artist in South Africa. You know, speaking about the roles and responsibilities of managers, those are quite a mouthful. And being a manager is a form of employment, right? Now, how does the payment of management work? Because now there's some managers who give promoters their account details, or who give Boss Hammer their account details. Who's supposed to be paying who? Where's the money supposed to be go? And how does one pay their manager?
So I would not say it's a form of an employment. I'd like to look at it as a partnership. But again, it also depends on where the relationship started. If you build from the ground up, for example, look at a Nota and Questa, you know, that's a partnership. You know, that's why they are together at Rap Life, you know. But if I go through now and I manage a Casper who's already full on brand, then
you work for him.
Do you understand? Now, this is where it's important to one, establish a business, establish a business that then says both the artist and the manager are employed by the business. So the business details goes to all these different bodies that make payment, and then the accounting stuff then decides, manager, this is your commission 20%, artist, this is your commission 85%,
and the business is still flowing.
And the business is still flowing.
I hope a lot of people are listening, because that's actually a standard good idea. Now, speaking of Questa and his manager and how they've come up together, where does the financial, where does the financial budget come from? Because not all artists come up and then in a day, boom, they're making 10 million, in a month.
Yeah.
So who then takes the role of saying, you know what, I'll pay for the petrol, I'll pay for the styling, I'll pay for the mixing and mastering, I'll pay for the beats, I'll pay for the DJ, I'll pay who now pays?
Well, look at it this way. There needs to be something to manage. Do you understand? So for you to say that I'm an artist, you need to have a product. So already that is establishing the fact that you're responsible for getting the product together as the artist. You go to someone and say, look, I'm an artist, this is what I've done, can you then manage this for me? So you can't go to someone and say, I'm thinking of doing this, manage
without a plan.
A business hires someone because there's a need, and that's just that.
Hey, the raw truth. The raw truth. It's very enlightening. And one thing I want to know is, I think 2 years ago was the first time I heard about invoices. Because when you're a startup, you need to do things for free and pay your dues. Dala says I'm a gig for free,
In sponsor shops, no
invoices.
It's
just exchange.
Hey.
So now, how would you advise an artist to develop their invoice? Because even big channels and big radio stations, if you're performing at their events or they're hosting some festival, they will ask you for an invoice. How do you then come up with your invoice as a business?
Look, I always say this. These things, you don't thumbsuck them, there's a formula to them. You need to look at the fact, why are they booking me here versus someone else? For example, I'm a DJ. There's DJs Bonyonyo there who DJs better than me or just as good as I do. So these people probably called me in because I've got a bigger following than this person. Then you need to now assess what's your pull factor. Do you know what I mean? Is your pull factor equivalent to what you're charging? It needs to make business sense. So that's how you work out the formula. How much do they stand to make from booking you? You also can't want 100% of what they're going to make. You need to get your basically your commission from what they're going to make. That's how you develop an invoice. But that's my personal opinion. Other people have got their own way of doing things.
Also, I think it's also maybe important to look at the cost of getting to that specific gig, because some events give you road funds, like maybe they'll pay for your petrol or something.
Look, so it differs in a sense that you can't be billing people for a local gig. If we are in Johannesburg and we've got a gig in Durban, those fees are outside of the booking. They have to book the flights, they have to book the hotel, and basically all miscellaneous. You understand? But if you're in Joburg, it means that your fee is already inclusive of moving around. You understand? Just like when you go to a Pick and Pay to buy chips, they've already factored in that price, what it costs them to have someone packaging them, have someone transporting them, etc.
It sounds very simple, hey? You make it sound so easy. Now, going into invoices, I want us to discuss what exactly is SAMRO, because a lot of people know it as a South African Music Royalties Organization. I want us to now, what exactly is SAMRO's job?
Look, to put it in a simple way, SAMRO is responsible for administrating the users of music. When I say users, I mean like the organization. So your radios, your malls, your
TV.
television and all that stuff. It registers those people and then has them paying fees, which then they administer to who? To publishers and to record labels. It's as plain and simple as that. It's a collection agency.
Oh, okay. So basically, it's like, okay, I'm charging you for playing
Yes.
Questa song.
Yes.
Questa, here's your money.
So what they usually do now is that they've got like a blanket license, because it's also becomes very difficult to track each spin. So you find that an SABC, because they're such a large user of the music, they're probably just paying 100 million flat
Without actually going through it like a tooth comb.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
What is RISA, and what is RISA's importance?
So RISA now represents the record labels, the makers of the music, So they are, to put it in layman terms, they are like a union.
Oh, for artists.
Yes, they are like a union for artists and for record labels.
And then, where does CIPC come into play now?
It comes into the first discussion that we had, where I was like, you need to have a business structure that hires the artist and the manager.
So CIPC is step one.
It's step one.
CIPC is step one. Okay. And then with payments of royalties, how do they pay out? Is it every month?
No, it's not.
Because people could be because people have these questions and they don't know that SAMRO pays out maybe in different quarters or in different in different times. So how does SAMRO pay out money?
Yeah, you just put it there. I mean, obviously you if you are dealing with your own royalties, you can get them quarterly. Usually that's the payment. It's quarterly. But maybe if you've got a specific MOU with whoever is collecting your royalties for you, you can then decide that
get it regularly.
No, we'll do it maybe every 6 months, or we'll do it every 12 months. If they are liquid enough, then they can do it on a monthly basis, because they can only go and collect their royalties themselves quarterly.
Okay. So speaking of paying out, when there's artist collaborations, when there's a producer, two other artists, let's say two rappers, and I'm paying 20K to this producer for the beat and the production and mixing and mastering and everything,
Yeah.
And then now I pay the artist who I've also featured. Maybe his rate is like 40K for a feature. I pay him the 40K, so I pay my producer and the artist who I'm featuring, which is what a lot of young and upcoming people do. And then now I register with SAMRO. The song blows up. It gets airplay. Who's supposed to be getting the royalties?
So look, firstly, we need to establish the fact that there's two sets of rights. You understand? There's composition rights, and then there's recording rights. Now when we're talking about composition, we're talking about the music writers. So those are your producers. And then when we talk about recording rights, we're talking about the record label and the recording artist. We need to establish that. But secondly, we need to understand that one, there's what we call an advance. So if you as a producer are coming in and you're saying my beat costs 10,000 rand, that's an advance. That's it. Take your advance, you're done. You understand? But if you're saying my beat costs 50,000 rands, but I'm going to take a 10,000 rands advance, then now your percentage split when it comes to the royalty.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And then with the collaborating artist, is it the same?
It's the same as well. Usually with collaborating artists, we hardly see the whole thing of payment upfront of advances.
That's also what I want us to get into, because you just see AKA versus Anati. Then AKA is like, you wanted 80,000. And now we're confused because we don't understand 80,000. Yeah, So that's why I want us to talk about these things, so that even rising stars know which stumbling blocks to miss and know which routes to take, especially when working with other people, because artists already established artists don't tell rising stars that, this is an advance.
Yeah.
You still need to pay me a percentage of the royalties that are coming. They just leave it like that. So we're trying to avoid that in the industry.
So this is what I always say. I always say, if we are going to be in business together, because essentially that's what it is, decide, are you an employee or are we in business together? If we are in business together, it means that we take the risk together. But if you want an advance, you are saying to me, You are an employee.
You're not willing
You
to
are
take
not
the
in
risk.
business. Exactly. So you can't come back later when the risk pays off and then say you want to get paid. So for me, I always say, guys, let's collaborate. Forget the whole thing of advances. Let's collaborate, and then everything is split.
But then they'll tell you, Uti, they have bills to pay, they have responsibilities, and
Who doesn't?
hectic. Dense.
Who doesn't?
Which is very true. I was not expecting that. Yo, okay. Which is very, very true. And some of the points that you have raised are very important, especially when working with other artists, because we're in an industry where sometimes collaborations are needed to boost up your own brand as well.
Yeah.
And speaking of brands, I want us to talk about publishing. What is publishing? There's so many whispers of get a publisher. Sony's giving me a publishing deal, but I'm not their artist. It's not a 360. So what is publishing?
So look, there's different aspects of publishing. But I think what mostly people look at when it comes to publishing is the fact that a publisher is responsible for getting you synchronization deals for your music. So if, for example, Channel A has got a theme song for their soapy, you understand? Your publisher is the one responsible for actually going and negotiating that deal and making sure you're getting what's due to you. That's the job of publishing. But also publishing means that your publisher is the one making sure that whoever is playing your music, whoever Samuel is collecting from, actually it ends up in your hands. You understand? That's the responsibility of a publisher.
Okay. Now, why is it so important to have a publisher, even if you are an independent artist who isn't signed?
Because one, do you have the auditing skills to go and do the accounting? If we are talking that, it's 0.012 cents per stream, you're gonna stop counting at some point. You understand? You need somebody who's going to be there and continue counting. You also need somebody who understands the laws behind the splits. You understand? You need to have someone who's going to be looking at that, because it's a full-time job on its own. Now, if you're an artist and you are running around gigging and recording music,
you won't have time to do the accounting.
Yes. When are you doing that?
So now, publishing is actually what a lot of artists should focus more on than signing a record deal. Can we say that?
You can say that, but remember, these things offer different things. For example, you can be an independent artist and have a license deal, and and have a separate publishing deal, and that you're not in a 360 deal. But you can also choose to be in a 360 deal, and then you've got a label looking over all of that stuff.
I feel like we're talking about corporate. It's not as glamorous as it looks on TV, man. It's not. Now, what is licensing, and how does licensing come into play? Because, okay, my publisher makes sure that all the auditing and all the streams and everything is calculated and I get what's due to me. My manager makes sure that I get there, I'm covered, the admin is done. Licensing. Is it registering music? Is it...
Basically, with licensing, you own the master, right? But you are licensing it out to that label for...
the master Yamaporis.
Yeah, so you are licensing it for maybe 10 years. You know what I mean? You are responsible for the cost of recording the music, which is why you own the master. It belongs to you. You paid for it, but then the label is responsible for things such as plugging it into digital streaming platforms, getting PR to run around and plug it for you at radio, at TV, etc.
Okay. Now it makes a whole lot of sense.
But you shoot your own videos and all that stuff.
But then now it's like budgeting, which is also another, because you are the master.
Yeah.
They brag about having masters, but they don't tell us, owning a master can say.
And also, you can own your masters, but
not make money.
And not make money from them, which is why I always argue this thing of owning masters. Mostly artists make money from gigs. Do you understand? And gigs come from you making a commercial success of your music. Now,
not necessarily owning your masters.
Do you understand? Now, sometimes you need to barter. give the master so that your music is worked, so that you're able to gig, and at a later stage when you can afford to buy back your masters.
Okay. And then now I want to get into brand collaboration with artists. This is a big thing, especially right now, because we're moving into artists not just depending on gigging, but depending on brands, depending on big companies, depending on a lot of the corporate space is now also moving into our entertainment industry.
Yeah.
What's the basis of that? What is the basis of collaborations between artists and brands?
It's the same thing with bookings. How I explained the fact that what is your value proposition? What is your value proposition? Now, the most critical thing there is to know your worth. It's to know what deal works for you and what doesn't work for you. If brand A feels like you are only worth a merchandise deal, so they're just going to give you whatever merch it is that they're pushing
and not exactly pay you
and not pay you money, you need to ask yourself, do I have a need for that merchandise? What is that going to do for me? So really it's about having management, one, that is not desperate, but two, that is very clued up in what they're doing, and also knowing how much you're worth,
and not lazy to read contracts. Because now this brings me back into a very big artist was collaborating with another big brand, and allegedly he didn't get paid a single cent for the amount of gear that he sold. Now, is this now the team's fault because he has a big team? So is it the team's fault or the manager's fault or the artist's fault?
Actually, that's a tricky one, and it's something that I really don't want to delve into too much. But look, I think it's a collaborative mistake from all of them. Like I said, in the beginning, certain deals work for you, and then at a later stage when coronavirus hits and the gig money is not coming in, you're like, we could be getting something
now
there,
you see it,
but because we didn't need it then we never negotiated for it.
So you'd say that even when you're dealing with brands, you need to think about the future. Think about, because when people make jokes like, what if the world ends, or what if there's like a lockdown, and then the lockdown actually really happens and people don't have the plans, but certain other people have planned for it. Now, before we close off, do brands now treat artists the same way as influencers, or do influencers get different packages?
Look, first of all, brand collaborations they are exactly that. It's about the influence that you can put. So they're ultimately all influencers. Once as an artist you step out of the music, you are entering the influencer space. You understand?
Because there's a debate that artists want to be VIPs, whereas they're doing the same job.
Well, because maybe they're bringing in bigger numbers.
So now, also my thing is, even if you are a big artist, but maybe Shawn has 2 million followers, but Shawn is generating more sales than you, even though you're creating more hype and more enthusiasm. Now, does this artist get paid more than Shawn, even though Shawn is bringing in more money?
It's exactly that. You need to be able to prove. You need to be able to prove the numbers. Like, look, these are my numbers, and therefore this is what I need. You take it or leave it. And also, you need to be prepared to lose certain deals if you're going to fight for what you feel belongs to you. You need to. I always say it's like, Joe. It's like for a gent to go to a woman and make a proposal. You will never go if you're always afraid to lose. Do you understand? But sometimes you just need to be prepared to go to, she's going to say no. And life carries on.
Now, just to close it off, how would you advise artists and creatives to avoid exploitation with contract, whether it being with collaborations with deals, with signing recording deals, or signing licensing deals or publishing deals? How would you advise them to be very wary of not being exploited?
Look, I think the first thing is stop converting your friends into managers if they don't know what they're doing.
I'm making it.
Exactly. If you are going to convert your friend into a manager, then they need to also
acquire skills.
Invest in that. Go and acquire the necessary skills. But also, guys, verve is not more important than paying for a lawyer just to go through that contract.
You're raising a good point.
Guys will not have teams. They will not have accountants. They will not have lawyers. But you'll bump into them at the club every weekend, popping 15 to 20K.
It's not me. It's not me. Thank you so much for coming through and sharing your expertise on everything that we've discussed today. We've spoken about SAMRO, we've spoken about royalties, managing, publishing. This is a new generation where I feel that a lot of people need to learn on their own and not have to go out there and try fend and whatever. So thank you so much for pulling through and sharing your expertise, Ashim. And wait till you... yes, one cut.
Listen, for me to manage someone else, I need to be able to manage myself.
Some is catty. So thank you so much. Rintintin. And where can people follow you?
At Sir Shawn SA everywhere.
Okay, Sir Shawn SA.
Yeah.
Even your company, if they want to, Sir Shawn.
Hey.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. My name is Rin Simpson because I'm twice as nice. This is still the Drop Hip Hop Uncensored. Today we got schooled. When are we all suited? We got schooled real good. So all the information that you need with regards to starting yourself as a business and as a creative is all in this episode. Don't forget to follow on Twitter, The Drop Uncensored, on Instagram, The Drop Uncensored. Like, comment, subscribe, follow Bona, The Drop Hip Hop Uncensored, and tell your friends to tell your friends. For now, your favorite Black Barbie is signing out. Mahalo, everybody.